evaluate determinants. And a determinant, which I'm going to abbreviate DET, is a square matrix. Which a square matrix means that it has the same number of rows as columns. In other words, a 2 by 2, a 3 by 3, a 4 by 4, and so on. Okay, there is a formula to evaluate a 2 by 2. And a matrix, we use the straight lines like you would for absolute values because it is squared. So we always indicate with straight lines. It's the diagonal down, multiply times each other, so A times D, and the diagonal up, B times C. It has to be in that order. Diagonal down, subtract diagonal up. And it's always subtract the two values. To evaluate a 3 by 3 or larger, you use expansion of a minor. An expansion of a minor means, like if I have a 3 by 3, I'd break it down to 3 2 by 2s. A 4 by 4, I'd break it down to 4 3 by 3s, which then in turn I would break it down to 3 2 by 2s. So I had 4 3 by 2s broke down, so you'd have a lot of work all congested on one piece of paper. Okay, so what we're going to practice first is just doing the 2 by 2s, and then we'll do the expansion of a minor. And then I'll have another way you can do just a 3 by 3, but it doesn't work for 4 by 4s or 5 by 5s, or 6 by 6. Okay, so first the 2 by 2s. I'll let you guys help me. So, Robert, what's the diagonal down going to be? 5 times 3. And Aaron, what's the diagonal up going to be?
It's -2 and 8. So -16.
And then we subtract, and you will always subtract between the two. So those two negatives together are going to end up making a positive. So we're going to end up with 31. Okay, Dylan, what about that pair? What would the diagonal down be?
-36.
And the diagonal up, Spencer?
20.
And we always subtract between the two, so what will we end up with? -56. One more for good measure, and I'll throw in a bunch of negatives. Okay, Josie, what about the diagonal down? Diagonal up? Handling?
Oh, sorry. -5.
-5. And we always subtract, so minus a -5 becomes a plus, and we end up with 13. Is everybody okay on 2 by 2s?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to move on. Now we're ready for, and the assignment's there, but it's also up there under Wednesday for the other 16 through 24, 28, 30, 32, 34, and
I need the following students to come to the office: Carrie George, Brianna Davis, Kenneth Edie, and Adrian Charles.
if I'm to use the 3 by 3 expansion, you can use the expansion around any row or any column. But if you choose column 1, then you'll be changing the sign of the second one. If you choose column 2, you'd be changing the first and the third signs. If you use column 3, you'd use the middle sign only. If you chose by rows, In the first row, you change the middle, the second row, you change the first and third, and the third row, you change the middle one. And if it was a 4 by 4, it works the same principle. You just keep alternating. And you can do that to find out which signs you have to change. But you're not going to have to do any 4 by 4s unless I choose to end up making one on a bonus for a test. Okay, so we're going to use the expansion of a minor. And again, it does not matter what row or what column you choose to expand upon, but every row, every column, doesn't matter which you choose, you should end up with the same answer. And we'll do that with this first example, we'll do it 2 ways, so that you see the results should end up being the same. So we're going to pick which row or column we're going to use to expand it. And usually I always use basically the same one. I use the first column, and the reason I choose it is because that way I only have to change one sign. Only have to change the sign that's in the middle. So to do expansion of a minor, that means we're going to be breaking this 3 by 3 down into 3 2 by 2s, which we have formulas to evaluate 2 by 2. So you cover up the row and the column that the 5 is in. So when I cover that up, what do I have left?
5, 3, 4, and 8.
You got a little 2 by 2. That's 5, 2, 4, 8, and then that 5 goes out in front. Okay, then you go to the next number in that column, which is 4. Cover up the row and the column that it's in. That leaves me 2, -3, 4, 8. Does everybody see that? Cover up the row, the column that the 4 is in, and the row that it's in. That leaves 2, -3, 4, 8. Now you go to the last number in that column, which is a -1. You cover up the row and the column that the -1 is in. So it leaves me a 2 by 2, that is
2, -3, 5, 2.
2, -3, 5, 2. And since we chose the first column, we always have to remember to change the sign of the one in the middle. And usually I circle that, just so that way I remember I changed a sign. You're going to change a sign no matter what row or column you choose, at least one. Depending on if you may pick one that chooses, you're going to change 2. But I always circle, that way I know I've changed the minimal number there. Now we're ready to evaluate the 2 by 2s. So Tatum, what would the first one evaluate to be?
48.
Okay, it's 40, I agree. 5 times.
40 and minus 8.
So what's 40 minus 8?
32.
And I saved the 5 is going to be distributed across the 32, but not yet. We're going to save that. Moving to the next one, Marilyn, what will you have?
16 minus -4.
So what's that going to give us?
28.
28. Okay, what about the last one, Robin?
4 minus -8.
Try that again. 5 times 3.
-15.
So what's that going to give us?
19.
19. And now we multiply by the number that was in front. So 5 times 32 is what? 160? 4 times 28? 112? Anybody else double checking me? And then 1 times 19?
Right.
And then what do they all add up to be? Okay, do we agree on 29? Okay, now, this part you don't need to write down, because we're going to do the same problem. We're going to just choose another row or another column to do the expansion. So which one do you guys want to use? You want to use the second one? You want to use the second row or second column? Second row?
Column.
Column?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with the second column? Okay, so we're changing to this one. So now if we do that expansion, it's going to be 2 times, cover up the row and the column that the 2's in, what do I have left?
4, 2, -1, 8.
4, 2, -1, and 8. Then I go to the next number in that column, which is 5. Cover up the row and column that the 5's in. I don't know if you can see that if I cover it up, but you guys.
5, -3, -1, and 8.
5, -3, -1, and 8. And then the last number in that row is
4.
4. Covering up the row and the column column that it's in leaves
5,
Five.
negative 3, 4, 2.
5, negative 3, 4, 2. And since we chose column 2, I have to change the first and the last. So this one, I've got to change the sign, and the last one, I have to change the sign. The one in the middle just stays as it is. Okay, so we're ready for, Chris, what will the first one evaluate to be?
32 minus negative 2.
So that ends up being 34? Okay, what about the next one, Robert?
40. What would be plus?
It's always subtract.
So 40 minus 30,
Uh-huh.
which would be 37.
Okay, Aaron, what about the last one?
10 minus negative 12,
So that ends up being,
negative 2, or
two negatives make a positive, so 10 plus 12 is
22.
22. And then we multiply. So we have negative 2 times 34,
Take negative 68.
5 times 37,
25.
and 4 times 22.
88.
Now, what's all that add up to be? Hopefully it adds up to be 29.
29.
So what's that tell me? We did it right. Okay, another expansion. Just for good measure. So, do we have questions on the expansion process yet? Are we okay with it? Okay. Okay, so we're going to expand again. One more example. Which one do you want to use as your expansion?
Last row.
Last row?
Yeah.
Is everybody agreeable with the last row?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would have picked, I see a 0. Does anybody know anything about when you
Zero.
multiply by 0? So that would save a little bit of time. So I would probably pick the last column. Plus I have 1s out in front, don't I?
And true.
Does everybody follow? So you can be selective about what row or column you use. So if I were to choose that third column, what would that expansion be? 1 times, Robert, what would I have left when I cover up that first row, first column, or last row, first column of that?
Negative 3, 4, 2, 5 and 2.
5 and 2?
Yeah.
The next number is 0. Do I really have to write this down?
No.
No.
Because 0 times anything is
0.
0. The last one is a 1. Aaron, covering up the row in the column that that 1 is in, what's that leave me?
8, negative 2, negative 3, and 4.
Negative 3 and 4. And now, which are we supposed to change signs?
The middle one.
The middle one. So, in this case, it doesn't matter because it's a
0.
0. So we picked a good choice there. Now, Dylan, what will you get for the first one?
Negative 6 minus 20.
So it ends up being,
Negative 26.
and it's going to be multiplied by 1. Okay, the next one, Spencer, what's it going to be?
1 times 32 minus 6.
So that ends up being, what's 32 minus 6?
26.
So we've got 1 times a negative 26 plus 0 plus 26. What do we get? 0. 0. Okay, now, I said I'd show you another way to do a 3 by 3, which I want you to go ahead and look in your book on that page 186. Notice, you're doing the even 16 through 24, which those are all what size? 2 by 2s. Okay, so that's just the diagonal down, subtract the diagonal up. The next one, 28 through 32, well, we're doing the even group there. It says expansion by minors, which that's what we've talked about. And remember, expansion of a minor works for 4 by 4s, 5 by 5s, and 6 by 6s, and so on and so forth. But the next one says, look on the section 33 through 38, it says evaluate each determinant using diagonals. And that only works on a 3 by 3. And I'll mention, I'm gonna show you that method, but I have found more students make more mistakes with the diagonal method than any other. So I'm gonna leave it to your discretion. You can, if you like diagonals, which it does work a little quicker, you can use it. Does everybody follow what I'm saying? Okay. So why don't we do the one we just did? Don't write this one down. I'll give you another one to write down for your diagonals. Using the diagonals, this one's easy to remember what the answer was, right? We're going to use doing diagonals. So to do diagonals, you rewrite your columns again. Okay, did everybody see what I did?
Grab the 1, 0, 1.
I didn't want to write that one.
Okay.
I'm only going to write the first 2 columns again. Now, we're going to, it's kind of like a 2 by 2. In a 2 by 2, don't you go diagonal down, subtract the diagonal up? We take our diagonals and we multiply. So, what's 8 times 4 times 1?
32.
Negative 2 times 0 times 5.
Or 0.
There, I heard 0 in there, so we know we multiply by 0, we get 0. Now, what about the last one?
-6.
Okay, then, remember on a 2 by 2, it's the diagonal down, subtract the diagonal up. So now we're going to do the same thing with the diagonals up. So that first diagonal up, what will I get on it?
20.
20. Second one,
0.
0. Third one,
-6.
positive 6.
Oh, yeah.
So there I get a negative 26, right? I get 26, but I'm going to be subtracting it. Here I get, and what do I get? 0. So I just used that one to show that we did get the same answer, or the same results. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's do one that you write down for your notes. And it works fairly quickly if you have small numbers. If you have large numbers, it's easier to do the expansion of the minor, and you keep track of things a little better, and usually can make fewer mistakes. I don't say that's all the time. Now, what do I do to do the diagonal method? Rewrite the first 2 columns. And like the 2 by 2, it's the diagonal down, right? Is what we do first. So I'm gonna line out all my diagonals down. So in the first diagonal down, what's 5 times 2 times 3?
30.
Next diagonal down, 8 times 1 times 4.
32.
Last one, 6 times negative 3 times 5.
-90.
Then we know we're going to be subtracting because it's like the 2 by 2, diagonal down, subtract the diagonal up. Now we're ready for the diagonals up. Okay, so the first diagonal was 4 times 2 times 6.
48.
The second one, 5 times 1 times 5.
5.
And the last one, 3 times negative 3 times 8. Negative 72, are we in agreement?
Yeah.
And now, what do we get in this one? What's 30 plus 32 minus 90? Negative 28? Okay, the next one, what's 48 plus 25 minus 72? 1?
Yeah.
Is that what I heard, 1? Was it a positive 1? Yeah, it would be because of the 73 minus. So then we have negative 28 subtract 1 is, so negative 29. Okay, do you guys have questions on what you're doing?
So you want us to do, is the diagonals on 34 and 36?
Okay, on the first group, you're just 2 by 2s. The next group, I want the expansion of the minors, because that's the one that will work if you have to do a 4 by 4, 5 by 5, and so on. And the last group of problems, you can use either, whichever one you prefer. Does everybody follow what I want to see? Okay, so you can get started and let me see your first 3 to make sure you're doing things right.